The next panel that I went to was a community event, and this was the Women on YouTube panel. This was great. I was really looking forward to this, and it was a little interesting because most of the content creators were not women discussing feminism on YouTube. Some of them would because, of course, as a woman talking, really, feminism sometimes comes up, especially if you're conscious of these issues. The women talked about how there is a lack of diversity on YouTube, how that most creators are men, and which you kind of hear in most general discussions of anything. Okay, most of our employee workforce are men, most of these leaders are men. It's a kind of pretty consistent criticism for whenever you're discussing feminism or your workplace. There was also a great comment made by Lacey Green that YouTube is her workplace and that harassment that happens online is like workplace harassment. If Lacey Green is by chance watching this, or anybody else who connects to that idea, go check out the book Hate Crimes in Cyberspace by Professor Danielle Citron. You'll really like it, I promise. It's a wonderful read. So it was said, do you respond? So the question was kind of raised, how do you respond to the harassment? Which, from my experience making these videos, it depends. There's sometimes that, yeah, I think that it's more meaningful to engage in the harassment to respond, or maybe turn it into a call of action like I talked about with contextual ethics and one of my letters home and the social justice warrior video. Make it a discussion of the bigger problems and say, I should not be harassed online. This is a big problem. We should talk about this. Maybe instead of engaging with the person one-on-one, I've heard a lot these past few days about educating people, and that's a great opportunity, but also to just ignore the trolls. There were a lot of women who talked about, yeah, they just block people on comments or mute them because it's not contributing to the dialogue that they want to foster in their community. Also, at the Woman in YouTube panel, there was a lot of discussion about how this is kind of a systemic problem and that YouTubers need Google and YouTube's help to create policies that better serve and help women. There was a lot of discussion about how the comments on YouTube are broken. The Women on YouTube panel also talked about how it's okay that make it clear, kind of to define your community standards and make it clear that hateful comments are not welcome. Hateful comments in general, not specifically YouTube comments, that they're not welcome, that saying, no, you should not be doing this. And to, as I believe the words were, call it out, don't be afraid to back down, don't be afraid to be silent. I was personally uncomfortable with this advice after thinking and creating my retaliation video, because calling it out, I think, can cause more problems. It's, that two wrongs don't make a right. I think there's a difference between calling somebody out and calling a problem out. So maybe taking a screenshot of a picture, blurring out the screen name, depending on how identifying that is, and saying, this is why online harassment is a problem. To call it out, I think, is a little difficult, and I think should be done very carefully and thoughtfully. The advice of keep speaking is great. Don't stop. Don't let somebody else discourage you from talking. I am really trying to decide right now whether or not I want to keep doing these videos. However, that's my decision, and I'm not doing that because a threat of the threat of being harassed. It's my personal decision. So if you're stop doing videos because you're being harassed, the panelists said no. Don't keep talking. Another piece of advice I was given was to not read comments until they become constructive. So just don't read the hateful comments because you're not going to get anything from them. The comments of, hey, your lighting sucked in that last video, or your lighting sucks in this video, and your audio is bad in that video. Those are constructive. Probably not said very kindly, but I would consider that constructive. The final takeaways that I've received from the Women on YouTube panel was to accept yourself, to separate yourself, what you think of yourself from what the internet thinks of you, and to have that internal validation that's separate from what the internet does. If you're doing something that you think needs to be done, keep doing it because it's important to you, not because it's important to, or because other people don't like it. Do it because you love it, which is something that surprised me to hear here. I came into this conference really unsure of online video and unsure of the online community and thinking, oh, these places might not be the best spaces online. They're kind of dangerous. I don't trust the internet. I don't trust what you are thinking about me right now as you watch this. It kind of scares me. And everybody here at the events have been saying, no, keep doing it because you love it. It's okay. You want to share your passions with the world, and people want to engage in a community with you about those passions, and that's great. So it's very counterintuitive for what I've been thinking for this past 6 weeks of thinking, oh my gosh, the internet is terrifying. I want my privacy, and we should have more privacy online, and everything here is like, share your passions with the world, and the world will respond and love you. Well, not necessarily that. There will still be parts of the internet that hate you, and that has been acknowledged here. But the love is more important than the hate.